welcome to Grounded Guidance, a casual space for conversation with curiously intuitive minds as we explore fascinating topics that stretch our edges to think differently, live aligned with the pathway we are choosing each day, and propel us to move through life with a new lens on the world. Each week we will explore in this space ideas that may challenge conventional thinking, encourage us to be intentional with our thoughts and actions, and grow through conversation with each other and with you. Join us.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
Hey,
Hey, ladies.
how's it going? Oh, yes. Yeah, Wednesday. Hump day. Thanks, Jackal. Still going for the hump day night.
Hey, Irk, you want to kick us off with a hump day dance?
Not today. Not happening today. He doesn't have it in him.
Oh my gosh.
Nature Lovin', first time to join the chat. Thanks for joining. Awesome. This is great. Oh, so for those of you that thought we were doing Bigfoot tonight, sorry. We decided to push Bigfoot 1 week because Berly's going to be gone next week. So we figured we'd save the Bigfoot conversation for when she's gone, since she doesn't really care about Bigfoot that much.
I mean, I totally don't care, but mystery movies does care about
He's
Bigfoot.
a resident expert, yeah. So let's
He's a fan.
He's gonna
dial him in, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm hoping to learn a lot from him.
Well, I'm hoping to learn a lot from you today.
That's right.
I'm excited. Somebody said something in the comments that made me laugh so hard. What is Clair Ability?
Yeah. Clair Ability. Who's Clair Abilities?
Clair Ability. What is a Clair Ability?
Yeah, it should be a Marvel character, it says.
Yeah.
That made me laugh.
Oh, that's actually a really good idea for a Marvel character. That's funny.
Well, don't they have? Well, I don't know. Telekinesis, and I mean that's like a superpower.
For sure. I feel like Wanda's kind of like that, right?
Gosh, maybe we should do an episode on the Marvel characters.
You don't want that kind of hate coming through this chat.
I don't.
People have big opinions about Marvel characters.
We'll leave that to your channel.
It is Wen's first time too.
Oh, Wen, welcome. Yay.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like Wen knows a little bit about Clair Abilities.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Love
so
it.
Karen, what is Clair Abilities?
What is Clair Abilities? So, when we were talking a little bit about this episode, we were talking about how we're all psychic, right? We're all psychic to an extent. So learning how to develop your psychic gifts through what we call the clairs. And clair is a French word for clear. So we're going to talk about 9 clairs tonight. So we'll just run through them really quick, and then we'll kind of go into depth of all about them. So clairvoyance is clear seeing. Okay, so we're going through some of the senses here. Clairaudience is clear hearing. Yep. Claircognizance is, anybody take a guess?
Clear brain?
Knowing. Clear knowing.
No. Something to do with the brain.
Clairsentience. This is actually the most common one.
Is that like your gut feeling?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, it's not scent related. Not scent related.
No, we're getting there.
Okay.
Clair empathy, clear emotion.
Ooh,
Just
I haven't heard of that one
for empaths. Yeah, that's one that a lot of people haven't heard of.
Because usually people only talk about 5 of them, right?
Yeah, 4 to 5 are some of the biggest common ones. Yeah, but we're kind of going on the fringe a little bit tonight because it's fun to do that.
Yeah.
Clairgustance. Do you know what that is?
Smelling.
Clear tasting. Yes.
Oh.
What is that? Is that weird or what? Clair's Aliens. That's a weird one. Clair smelling.
Wait, are you sure?
Oh, that's what that's called?
No, I get them confused too. Do you think Clairgustance should be the smelling one?
Well, I actually did like a little bit of research, and some girls said that Clairgustance was smelling.
No, that one is the tasting. Clairalience is the smelling.
So someone needs to correct her, I guess.
Somebody probably needs to correct her. Yeah. Clair intellect, clear thinking, and Clair tangency. This one's fascinating. Clear touching. So you know the medium Tyler Henry.
Oh, yeah.
He touches objects and then he gets information through the objects.
Ooh.
So that's a really interesting Clair. So all of these Clairs are things I'm sure all of you listening have experienced. 1, 2, 3, maybe all of them at some point in your life. So we're going to kind of discuss what they are, how they show up, how to strengthen them, how to learn to listen to them, what it's like to develop these different parts of our psyche. So a couple of things. Psychic. This is really interesting. So psychic denotes faculties or phenomenon that are apparently inexplicable by natural laws, including all the Clairs. Okay. The Greek word for psychic is psychikos, meaning or of or belonging to the breath. The Latin word psychicus is meaning, and the English word psyche is the human soul, mind, or spirit. Which I thought was interesting. I always like to look at the history of a word, kind of all the different
The roots of those words.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at psychic and you look at psyche, the human soul, right? This is something that's innate in all of us. Yeah.
So which one?
Ryan.
Huh.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
So Ryan asked if it has anything to do with mental health. I don't think so.
No, there is one Clair, the Clairaudience, where you will hear kind of inaudible voices. And sometimes people with a mental health condition, maybe like schizophrenia, that's where it can kind of cross the line. We'll talk a little bit about that.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm. But no.
So yeah, some people who hear things might be wrongly diagnosed as being schizophrenic because they have that psychic ability and just don't understand it.
Definitely. So let's talk a little bit about clairvoyance, probably the most misunderstood Clair of them all. So this term, a lot of people use this term with the term psychic. If you're psychic, you're clairvoyant. But clairvoyance is actually just a tool within the psychic toolbox, which I think is really interesting. So the gift with clear seeing is that you receive information through images, through your mind's eye, which is here where your third eye is. So we'll kind of cover where the information comes in through your body. So if you're clairvoyant, you're seeing images, mental, physical, you're seeing images in your mind's eye. So not necessarily out in front of you. A lot of people think that if you're clairvoyant, you're seeing ghosts. Not necessarily. A lot of times clairvoyants will see things as metaphors. It's not always
not always a straight translation.
Yeah. So one of the things with being a clairvoyant is being able to identify and discern what the images mean in your definition. So if you're seeing something in your mind's eye, like a rose or a bird, what does that mean to you? It may mean something completely different to you than it does to me. So strengthening this Clair really helps you identify what that means. You've probably heard that before where people are like, oh, I saw this in my mind's eye. Well, your definition of that might be very different than my definition of that.
Yeah,
Yeah, you hear that from other like medium shows, right? Like
Yeah.
the Long Island medium, right? She says, I saw a white rose, which to me symbolizes, I don't know,
Yes.
the friendship or whatever
Right.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What were we going to say, Berly?
I was gonna say, yeah, it's like symbols are.
Yeah. And the symbols mean, they can mean something very different to everybody. Yeah.
So that's similar to dreams because we talked about that during our dreams episode also, that
We did. Yeah.
symbols mean different
So,
things in dreams. So how does clairvoyance and dreams kind of like, can you be clairvoyant in your dreams?
yes. So people who have a very strong clairvoyant ability usually are vivid dreamers. They get very strong visions, very strong mental images, very strong dreams, very strong. A lot of things will play for people that are clairvoyant in kind of a movie fashion, like an old school movie where it's clip after clip after clip,
Oh,
doing
interesting.
things in a progression. Everything is always, if you are a visual learner, there's a good chance clairvoyance is a big clair for you. You will daydream a lot.
I am just like resonating so much with this right now.
Are you finding out that you're clairvoyant?
Vivid dreams, I have to visualize to learn it. Daydreaming, yes. ADHD.
Yeah, you often will see things move out of the corner of your eye, right? That's very common.
Wow.
You may be able to see glowing lights or auras around people. Some people can visually see an aura around somebody. Another thing that's a strength of somebody who has this gift is the ability to see things like fit together, like a puzzle piece. It's very clear visually how things come together. You're also very, very good at dreaming things up, like in your head, coming up with these elaborate plans in your head, which I think is interesting. Here's another really interesting thing and a really good way to strengthen your clairvoyance.
Ooh.
People who have a strong clairvoyance gift are really good or have a really good sense of direction. So one of the ways you can strengthen this gift is to, you can play a little game, but you can travel with somebody to an area you don't know. They could, close your eyes while you're going there, and like an area you've never been to before. Open your eyes, get in the driver's seat, and don't use any maps or any.
They'll be able to drive back to where they were.
Yep. Yeah. Which is actually a really great way to strengthen it because you use your clairvoyance, mental pictures, mental images, mental symbols to get your way to where you're going. So images in your mind's eye might be literal, so they might actually be true, or they might be completely metaphorical. That's important to know.
Interesting.
And like sometimes people think that you have to close your eyes to be able to see it, right? But you can see it with your eyes open.
You can see, yes, you can. Yeah, absolutely. It's strengthened. Yeah, it can be when your eyes are open or when your eyes are closed. To strengthen this clair, though, meditation, closing your eyes.
A lot of visualization, I imagine.
A lot of visualization. A lot. Let's see here.
Now, Jackal's asking if it can include remote viewing.
Yes, absolutely. So I took a remote viewing class years ago where we worked primarily on our clairvoyance, and then we did a whole section on remote viewing, and that was all done in a deep meditation setting. Remote viewing is fascinating. If you've never,
what is remote viewing?
Taking a target. So remote viewing its history goes back a long time ago, and the federal government actually has a whole remote viewing program where they used to legally spy on our enemies. There's Ingo Swann and I'm trying to drop some names here that are people that you should research remote viewing on. But anyways, you take a target, usually a set of numbers, and then you focus on those numbers to try to remote view to that location. And the numbers absolutely mean nothing to where the location is. But based on the target, you can, and people who have honed this ability can get right into exactly what's happening, whether it's, in an army base, or, you can see what people are doing. You can see what,
that sounds like a superpower, honestly. That sounds made up. It sounds like a made up Marvel superpower.
It's fascinating. I had a really hard time with it. I could get close to some of the targets. Like I was seeing things that were around the target, but I never landed right on what the target was. Like I remember one of the targets was the Statue of Liberty. And I was seeing the skyline in New York, and I was seeing the Hudson River, and I was seeing, but I never saw, and then I would see parts of the Statue of Liberty, but not, it's fascinating. So it's a skill. It can be honed, it can be learned, it can be strengthened. But yeah, our government uses this really to spy on people.
My brain is connecting it to Battleship or something like that.
Yeah.
The game Battleship? Oh yeah, I like that. B-41, Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
That's wild since I played that one.
Well, this is random. You know how like you have a jar of gumballs and people have to guess how many gumballs are in the jar, and then if they win, so I have a tendency to be good at that. Is that clairvoyance, or is that just not related at all?
I guess talk us through how you figure, like what's your process? Do you use like a mathematical process, or do you see a number?
Math and I are not friends. No.
Okay.
I literally will just look at it and a number will pop into my brain.
Okay.
Ooh.
So
I did that with your dad's one of the ALS golf tournaments that we did.
Oh yeah.
And there was like a guess how many golf tees are in this jar, and then you'll win the jar of golf tees. Well, I guessed it exactly, which was stupid. I don't know how I guessed it exactly.
Wait, right on the money? That's crazy.
Yeah. It was like 313 or something. I won the jar of teas. Like, great. I don't know.
That's funny that you bring that up, because I was at a baby shower or a bridal shower a week ago, and there was like a jar full of kisses, and you had to guess how many kisses were in there, and I won.
Nice.
Yeah.
Were you right on it, or did you just?
I guessed 113, and it was 115.
Very good. So, okay. So back to your question. If you saw the number, that would be clairvoyance. If you heard the number, that would be clairaudience, which we'll talk about in a second. If you just got a knowing, I just know it's this number, that's usually claircognizance.
Okay.
But if you visually saw a number and
I just knew.
So you're probably combining a couple of different clairs, probably clairvoyance and claircognizance. Because that's the thing, they very rarely work alone.
Oh, Galaxian, I've tried to translate it to the lottery, just has not worked. It just hasn't worked.
Yeah. That's funny.
That's funny.
Wait.
You won the lottery with me, babe.
What's that?
Yeah, no kidding.
What? Oh, I did win the lottery. Never mind. I win. Never mind.
This is a good point too. Like cats having clairvoyance. Is that?
Well, dogs always find their way home too. They can probably just smell it, right?
So they got clear. What's not good?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, cats don't know if it's clairvoyance or not. I'm not sure. I'm guessing this is in reference to the directions thing that they kind of know they're.
Clairaudience. Yeah, Galaxian nailed it.
Clairaudience. Yes, that's good. I like that.
So the book The Men Who Stare at Goats is about remote viewing. I think that's what
yes,
G.
I believe
Worsley was talking about.
Okay,
Interesting.
yes. Remote viewing, if you have the slightest interest in it, there is some real powerhouses. Somebody that actually worked for the federal government who doesn't anymore, came out and then wrote this huge book about it and what they did when and how it's been a big part of their process, which is interesting. But it's like, it's like anything, developing a skill. It's tough though, for sure. But I would imagine some of these clairs will be hard for people as well. So when I meditate is when or dream is when my clairvoyance is the strongest. So meditating and working on remembering your dreams. There's a couple of stones you can work with for the clairvoyance that I think are interesting that help strengthen it. Labradorite, demortarite, lapis, azurite, shattuctite. Here's some fun, mundane ways to develop or to kind of hone your clairvoyance. I say mundane, but like I do these regularly and they help so much.
Oh, cool.
So while driving on the freeway, or really anywhere, I mean, the freeway is the place where you can really, really use it because there's a lot of cars moving back and forth. Visualize what other drivers are going to be doing. So like you're driving along and there's a car over here, visualize them either coming in your lane or use your intuition to anticipate what they're going to do next. Anticipate what the car 2 lanes over is going to do, what the car behind you is going to do, and just kind of play this game. And you will find that over time, you'll be able to see they all kind of move in this synchronous fashion based on what you're intuiting.
Weird.
Kind of like you're moving them with your brain almost.
It's fascinating.
What about like in sports? Like this reminds me of like when you anticipate like what players are going to do in sports.
Yes.
Kind of. Is that kind of the same thing?
Similar thing.
Now,
are you thinking about are you playing or watching?
Like I'm imagining like when I used to play basketball and I was the point guard and I would like anticipate where the players were going to go and I would like pass it there before they would go there. Is that kind of the same thing?
Part of that's probably pattern based too, though. I mean, you have a natural instinct with your teammates because you play with them and you develop these habitual pattern based movements. So I don't know. I was kind of thinking the same thing with like movies. When we're watching movies, I'm pretty good at predicting what's going to happen in the movie, but it's not because not because I think I'm like clairvoyant about it, but because I just understand how stories develop and change. And so I'm able to recognize the pattern in the story and then anticipate where it's going based on that pattern.
So I was thinking about this today. So, when you read a book, some of you may have learned this in school, you use context clues to anticipate where the story may go next, right? You probably do that when you watch movies as well.
Yep.
I do that kind of with my intuition as well. My daughter gets really nervous when there's a lot of sirens and lights. And so I've been teaching her to really read the situation and then use context clues as you're reading the situation to help inform your intuition, which I think is interesting because you don't know what's happening, but and that's helped her a lot because she would just really get stressed about the sirens and lights. I don't know why. I think
but if she recognizes things around her and realizes, those sirens and lights are not coming here because I'm in danger or anyone near me is in danger. But
right. So I think you can use context clues as well. You have to be careful that you don't let it completely take over and inform everything that's going on in your intuitive mind. Okay, here's another thing you can do. This happens to me regularly. Now with lists, we have them a lot more digitally, but sometimes you like scratch a list down before you go to the store, right? I need these 10 items.
Mhm.
And then you get to the store and you realize I forgot the list. Right. And for whatever, we have access to everybody at a moment's notice. But what I like to do is not call anybody, not ask for the list. And I work on just intuiting what's on that list. So closing my eyes and remembering what I wrote down on the list. And it's not easy because there are things I forget.
So you're saying that kind of builds on the clairvoyance, even though it's something that you've already seen because you wrote
I've already
the
seen
list.
it. I've already seen it. But there's
It's
time
just flexing that muscle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
And
okay.
Invariably okay, all right, what would I have put on there? There was stuff for dinner. Was there stuff for this? Was there I know there was something else. And I kind of go back through it and I try to remember the order in which I wrote things. So yeah, it's flexing the muscle. It's just really practicing developing this skill.
Interesting. Nice. I mean, I always accidentally forget my list. So.
Try that next time. See how it works.
Accidentally flexing the muscle.
Okay, here's another one you can do. And you do this with somebody else. Have somebody bring out 10 to 15 items and put them on a table.
Mm.
And that you don't know what these items are. Then you come into the room and you study the items for a minute. The color, the texture, what is it? How big is it? All these things. And then you leave the room and you document how many items you noticed and you saw.
It's sort of like a game of memory.
Well, you're really strengthening that visual, that, what you saw in your mind's eye, because that's where it goes when you leave the room. Yeah.
Okay. That sounds like a fun game.
Do you guys do any of those? Do you do any of the?
I have a horrible memory, so I always try to avoid games where the memory is involved, even though I should probably be doing them more since I have a horrible memory. So maybe I need to start doing them more. Maybe. That would help all around. Yeah.
So if this is a strong clair for you, you may say things like, oh, I see it so clearly. Or, do you see that? Or, can you picture that? So that might be an indication that this might be a primary clair for you.
Okay, cool.
All right, let's move on to clairaudience, clear hearing. So you're able to hear voices or disembodied voices or messages from the spiritual realms. The voice, this is important to note, is not an audible voice, but rather a voice in your mind. Here's the really important part. The tone is almost always even and calm. So when we talk about mental health and schizophrenia and those people that do hear voices, we're not talking about that. That's something different. Often the information will usually come through our ears, sometimes the left, because the left is our receiving side, not always, but that's the left side of our body, feminine side, receiving side. Here's the fun part. It'll often come through a song lyric.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah. It'll come as a line in a poem or from a line in a movie. So if that happens to you, I mean, this happens to me a lot where why is this song stuck in my head? I haven't heard this song in a long time. Or why is this quote in my head? Pause and, pause to really stop and think about what it might be trying to tell you.
That's the quote that I picked for Match.com. It was just in my head. What
was your quote?
roads. Where we're going, we don't need roads.
And that's
But it
Eric's
was-
love language.
Yes, and it was said in a way, it wasn't in the Back to the Future way. It was said in the what, Knocked Up? Was it Knocked Up? 40-year-old version? No, Knocked Up. Knocked Up saying it
Like
as Back to the
spin-off of it?
Future. So it was like, it was
That's
Paul Rudd
good.
saying it. And that's how he heard it when he read it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh my
So-
gosh, that's cool.
But
And you
that
just-
wasn't something that I thought about ahead of time. It was just like came to me in that moment when we were writing my profile that one
So-
weekend.
It was like a spirit or something that was like trying to connect.
Somebody
you to-
told me that that's what
Him?
it should be.
That
Yeah,
is
it was just like
cool.
that was the only thing that popped in my head as like something to say, because you like have to pick a quote or like a little
Yeah.
something that it says something about yourself. That was it.
Wow.
That is pretty cool, I have to say.
Maybe remember when I told you guys about how I heard those song lyrics and then I turned on the radio? Maybe that was like
Yeah, definitely. That's why it's important to listen to the lyrics. Like what are the, whenever I hear a song pop in the head, I usually will bring up the lyrics on my computer and read through them because I'm like, there's something's happening here.
interesting.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people
I never-
relate to the lyrics,
Yeah.
like hearing song lyrics.
Yeah, that's a big one. I went on a sabbatical several years ago. And here's another way to get real clear clairaudient messages. Spend time in nature where you're closest to your truest self, right? But I was in nature and I heard this, it was like so audible in my ears. And I was like, what is happening? But I heard, be still and know that I am one with God. And I didn't even know at the time what that was, but that is Psalm 46. I think it's 46:10. And that has been just like a guidepost for all of the work that I've done since then. I also heard on that same outing, one of the lines from Robert Frost's poem, "Two roads diverged in Yellowwood, and I have taken the one less traveled by," and that has made all the difference. But then here's something really mundane. I look out my window today, and my flower pots are looking a little tired, and I hear, "Go check the water." I'm like, okay. So I go check the water. Well, the zone was off for the water. So it's the simplest thing. It's not always really profound or prophetic, but it's just about paying attention.
Paying attention. Yeah, that's the one.
And not dismissing it, not thinking it's nothing, not thinking it's it's all in my head. One of the ways that is helpful when you're developing these skills is to write things down. When they come up, write it down and then see over time how many things actually came to fruition. If this is a strong clair for you, when you're reading, you will make up different voices for the characters in the book. Do you guys do that?
No,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah, I do that.
I do it with the kids all the time, and now Charlie does it too. She'll like if she's reading, she'll like change the voice because it's a different character.
Yeah, I love that. The information, again, we're not talking mental health, but the information will not be scary. It should be kind, maybe somewhat constructive, but it should never be mean or scary. So you may hear them in your ears. You may hear it in your ears, or you may hear it in the mouth of God chakra, which is right here in the back of the base of your spine, or base of your spine, sorry, base of your skull. Have you guys ever gotten information that way?
I didn't even know that was a thing until right now.
The mouth of God chakra. Isn't that wild?
That's interesting.
Some say it's the seed of life formed from, when your soul took form in your body. I don't get messages right there. It comes in through my ears. Yeah. So one of the examples of where you might get a clairaudient message is You're driving down the road. This happens to me a lot. You're driving down the road and you hear, turn here, turn here, turn here, turn here.
Oh,
Like, I wasn't planning on turning here. Okay.
That's never happened to me.
Oh, it does. Like a turn.
Yeah.
Driving along. Take this exit. Take this exit. Take this exit.
yeah.
Okay, take this exit. All right. And usually there's something that there's traffic up ahead, or, you know, there's always good reason. Just learning to listen to that though it's wild.
Oh, okay, I'm exiting the freeway now.
That happened to me yesterday when I was trying to find a parking spot in a at the mall. I was like, my mind told me that if I turned here, there would be a parking spot around the corner, and there was.
So you listen to it.
I listened.
Yes. That's so important.
Jackal says, I hear that from the passenger seat.
Yeah, right, exactly. Okay, so I'm talking about when no one else is in the car. Not from your kids, not from somebody in the passenger seat. So really interesting things about clairaudience is they're usually very short messages and very to the point. So there's not this, you're
No
not
fluff.
listening to this,
No
no
fluff.
fluff, no long dialogue, no long. So a couple of things that you may hear: ask for the raise, wait until after dinner, leave now. Sometimes only one word. Maybe you'll see a number. Remember how you said you saw the number for the gumballs? You know, maybe that one word has something to do with what you're thinking about in that moment. It's always been that way for me too. Clairaudient messages are always very short and to the point, but I'm very thankful for them. One of the things, so I went through a series of health issues, kind of like bips and bobbles this past winter. And I would get stuck in these like kind of scary thought bubbles about like, oh, what if this is happening? What if that is happening? I'd get these clairaudient messages. You're fine. they're kind of funny. Like my clairaudient messages are kind of funny to remind me to like stop.
Get a grip.
Yeah. Get a grip. And so it's always like, you're fine. That's how it comes through. You're fine.
Yeah.
Okay. But I appreciate that because I that's my chill out, chill out.
Yeah.
Which is kind of so you might be naturally attuned to sounds, music, or toning. Do you find that? Do you find that you're clairaudient, Mrs. Movies?
I think I probably have clairaudient experiences, but I don't think that's my primary psychic ability. If I had to say I had one, I don't think that's the one that I have. Mostly because I think I don't know. I'm very audio sensitive, I would say.
Oh.
Noises affect me. And usually in negative ways. Like I'm just very sensitive to sounds, and like I can hear the things that, humans aren't supposed to hear, only dogs are supposed to hear. Well, I hear those things.
Oh, like the weird vibration or the sound frequency?
The high pitched frequencies. Like we have mouse deterrent plugins, I hear those noises. We do have some right now that I don't hear, which is great. But the ones that we used to have, I could always hear it. I had to unplug them. Like I can hear when his phone charger is making a charging noise. Like as soon as he puts his phone on it, it would like make this high frequency pitch. He couldn't hear it. It drove me crazy at night. I threw it away. And then I get angry about it, right? Because I have misophonia.
Yes, I have that too.
Yeah.
Okay, for those of you that don't know what that is, because somebody's going to ask. It's a okay, it just makes me laugh every time. It's a true condition. No, I don't even want to call it a condition. You just get annoyed. You get annoyed the hell out of certain sounds, right? Like somebody chewing carrots or crinkling bags,
but to the point of rage, immediate rage.
I I was in a sandwich shop today, and there was a gentleman with a bag of chips. He couldn't have eaten the chips louder. He couldn't have crinkled the bag louder.
Oh God. People are always being annoying in an airplane too. It's always in an airplane when you're trapped, right? Like you have no other place to go, no other options. You really have to like ground yourself and meditate to not just punch these people in the face.
That's what it feels like. You feel like punching them. And I am
Wow.
not a rageful person. Yeah, I am not a rageful person, but I think it runs in the family.
I think it does. My mom definitely has it. Yeah. I think my dad definitely had it because boy, if you got around him with a a plastic bag, he would yell at you so hard. Put that thing down.
Oh wow. Yeah, it's a real thing. There was a gentleman when I was in the office last week who had his headphones on and he was chomping on carrots and I thought I was going to lose my mind. Oh my gosh. And he's a super nice guy.
Yeah. Oh boy. It's a real thing. It's a real thing.
That's a nice tangent in our Claire conversation.
Yeah. Sorry.
Wow, I'm glad that that's not an issue I seem to have.
That's
no,
good.
I don't think it is. Yeah.
So how do you strengthen this Claire? Spend time in nature where it's quiet. Spend time in silence, which is something that scares a lot of people. Some crystals for this, some crystals to use for this Claire: celestite, blue lace agate, blue topaz, angelite, and kyanite.
I need to start taking notes.
You do. No, I'm kidding. Clairaudience is a very strong one for me.
Yeah.
Claircognizance. I think this might be your strongest one, Kayla.
Might be.
Clear knowing. So this is where you experience just like a sudden knowing, like you just know something. You don't know how you know it. It's just
in my gut. Gut feeling is what that's definitely the one I have most.
You can't explain it. It's just there. A stroke of insight, an automatic download. This is where your instinct manifests. Mm-hmm. And really, we are all designed to have that gut instinct. It's just so many of us override it with our logical mind. So you may use language like, I knew you would say that, or I knew that would happen. The thing about claircognizance, though, is it's very, very subtle. This takes some work to really strengthen this. So the claircognizance connected to your crown chakra. When I receive messages from claircognizance, it comes through my head. Is that how yours come through, Kayla?
I want to say mine come through my gut, if that makes any sense. It's just like a visceral feeling in my core that I just feel like that's not something I should do, or that's,
So here are 6 signs that you may be claircognizant. Your gut instinct is always right. Always. You are a human lie detector. I find that to be true. I know without a shadow of a doubt when you're lying to me. You have random ideas or solutions that you don't know where they come from. You often interrupt people because of the downloads you're getting.
See, it's happening right now. I am always interrupting you guys.
You often will sleep on something and then wake up with solutions. So how do you differentiate between your own thoughts and claircognizance? So this is like a fine line, right? Between what's happening, just what you're thinking, and then what's actually clear knowing. So thoughts that we entertain every day in our head will develop. So imagine meeting somebody. You meet somebody, they come into a room. It takes several minutes for your brain to go, oh, that's an interesting outfit, or that's an interesting hairstyle, or I think I might like them, or I might not like them. It takes you a little while. With claircognizant, you instantly know. You don't know how you know, but you know with a flash of insight whether you like this person, you're going to trust this person, you're going to do business with this person. But what's really interesting about this, I learned this a little while ago. We talked about the subconscious mind on the dreams episode, but your subconscious mind, now keep in mind, your subconscious mind is the way the intuition communicates with your conscious mind. The subconscious mind works 30,000 times faster than your conscious mind. So no wonder when you get a feeling about something and you just know that that's the way it is, your subconscious mind is taking that in. It's taking that in way faster than your conscious mind. So you'll get it. You'll get a hit. You'll go, I don't know how I know that, but I do. And then your logical conscious mind will go, now I have to figure out how I know that. Right?
So it's like instant, like the instant feeling.
Instant. It's like a light bulb moment, quick flash, snapshot. And the trick with this, Claire, is trusting what comes through. Because it's so easy when that comes through to go, well, that's dumb. Why would I even think that? Or my logical brain can't make sense of that, right? That just doesn't make sense that I would do that. And then people will go, just going to override it, not listen to it. The trick is really listening to it when it comes through. It could save your life. Right? It has. It saved a lot of people's lives, actually. I was in DC a couple years ago, walking the streets. Sounds like such a weird story, but I was at night walking the streets in a pretty well-lit part of town. I was with several people. And we were walking back from dinner. We had to walk like, 6 or 8 blocks. And the thing with claircognizant, and this is the part about interrupting, it will often just come out of your mouth spontaneously. You won't know where it comes from. It just comes out.
Wait, somebody in the comments said that earlier.
Oh, did they? I'll be having a conversation with someone and I will open my mouth to answer them and something totally unrelated will come out of my mouth. What comes out has later happened every time. Weird, hey? No, that's not weird. That's claircognizant.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So we're walking down these streets. We're crossing the crosswalk, going down a city block, crossing the crosswalk, and you just keep going. And there's a group of us and we get to this crosswalk and out of nowhere I go, not this way. And they look at me. We're like on the back way to our hotel. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, we can't go this way. Like, what do you mean? And I'm like, I don't know. We just have to pivot. We're going that way. And they're like, what's going on? I'm like, I don't know what's going on.
Just listen to me
that way. And they're like, oh, it's easy to get panicked and scared and freaked out. And I don't know what it was. But I always listen to it.
Me too. Yep. My gut instinct is always right. I always listen to it. Yeah. I think probably saved me from a couple of car accidents. Yeah. And I'm going to toot my own horn here. I'm a pretty good hirer at work. When I have to do hiring, I know immediately whether or not somebody is going to be a good fit for a position or not. Like I just have a gut instinct about a person. I'm like, yep, they're good.
That's really impressive. Because that takes a fair amount of discernment, right?
I just feel like I read people well, right? So I just feel like I can tell if somebody is genuine in the things that they're saying or if they're just being fake.
So you'd be a good matchmaker.
I'm working on it. I'm just trying to build that resume,
So people with claircognizance can have a very active imagination. Because you're getting flashes of insight constantly, right? I mean, it comes constantly. For me, Yeah. And I've had to learn how do I discern what's truth and what's not.
Yeah.
And that
For me, it
is
kind of
very
feels like, what is my anxiety? Like, is this anxiety driven? Am I visualizing these things because I'm
Yes.
having anxiety about a situation, or am I actually feeling like there is danger that I need to
That's
be
a
avoiding?
very, very good point, right? I
Yeah.
think when we are spun up about things in our life, you know, whatever it may be, our anxiety will show us things through these different senses that we believe to be true if we've learned to trust them. What I often do, one of the techniques I use is if I am getting a clear knowing about something, I will check it with another sense. So if I'm getting a clear knowing about something, you know, related to somebody I love, I will say, you know, let me hear something about that, or let me see something about that. And I usually hear, you're fine. They're fine. Or nothing, right? A lot of times it is that it's anxiety or it's emotions that are so it requires a certain level of discernment that's really important to have. All of these gifts, we can welcome energies that are not for us if we aren't grounded, if we aren't, our energies aren't balanced as we're strengthening these different gifts, and learning to listen to not our anxiety and the spun up part of ourselves or our thoughts, but really listening to what that is that's coming through.
That's so cool that you can just like, you've strengthened it and to a point that you can just call on to the senses.
Yeah, I mean, that's taken a lot of time to learn to trust, right? To really, really trust what, you know, these innate gifts that we all have, I think are, I mean, the greatest gift we can give ourselves, because you have access to something immediately that is truthful and is yours. Nobody can take it away. You don't have to go outside of yourself to find these things. It is really such a gift. Yeah, it's such a gift. And I love it because we all can find these things, all of us. You know, and it strengthens who we are as people, you know, as we go out into the world and move through our lives and our jobs and be good family members and friends. And yeah, they don't just have to be cool party tricks.
But I feel like as you're describing things, like I'm sure so many people are relating to it and like, oh wow, it's not as woo-woo as you think it needs to be. It's really like simple.
Oh, like, oh yeah, I've experienced that before, right?
Yes.
Right, exactly. I would imagine by the end of this episode, people are going to go, I have experienced at least one or two of those and not even realized it. Sometimes it's a matter of, oh, I'm going to pay a little more attention now, right?
Yeah, or just going back to trusting, like trusting that.
Trusting. Yeah. So one of the stories that I wanted to tell is about this podcast and how it came to be. So
I like this story.
This is really a claircognizant moment. So last August, I was getting clear knowing messages about starting a podcast. And sometimes the messages come through and they're so annoying because I don't have the means they don't have the wheels to put things in motion, right? But I have learned that, like a frying pan over my head, if I don't listen or acknowledge or put some wheels in motion, that the message will get louder. It'll get louder and louder and louder and keep coming. Well, about 3 months. So I said, okay. And I just kind of put it aside. About 3 months later, direct download, clear knowing, you need to start a podcast. And so I said, okay, find me the means to do this and I will show up. Left it alone. About 4 months later, right around my birthday, I get a clear message again. You need to start a podcast with Mrs. Movies. I was like, well, this is interesting. Okay. Knowing we both have very busy lives. And I'm like, so here's where all my doubt comes flooding in. And I'm like, this is bizarre. okay, maybe I won't say anything to her. Why is that true? Like, I don't really understand. So I sat on it for about a week. Okay, then I'll turn it over to you. You tell
And
your
then
story.
one day you just texted me and said, okay, I'm just throwing this out there because it keeps coming up in my mind. Spirit told me I need to start a podcast with you. And then I said, what are you doing right now? I need to call you. Because so for about a year or so, I had been telling Mr. Movies, like, I want to expand what we've been doing. I'd love to do some sort of like open form podcast, just conversation thing. Cause I just feel like that's what I want to do. Like, I feel like I need to have conversations with people.
Mhm.
And so we had been kind of talking about how we were going to do that. And then we actually decided, okay, we're going to start a podcast. We don't know what we're going to talk about. Maybe we'll just talk about random weird shit that we like to talk about, you know, conspiracy theories, things like that. And in my gut, it was just like, we should bring in your sister. Your sister seems like she could use something new to do, right? Like some new inspiration. She could help us with some of the technical stuff because he doesn't have a ton of time and I don't have the means or time to make it happen either. So I was like, maybe
Yeah,
she
I
can
knew.
help us.
See,
That'd be
that
great.
message that I got was true. You don't have
Yeah.
the means or the time, right?
Right. No, basically not. So
But I still went through with it.
we had met with Kim about a week before you sent that text message and said, all right, we're going to start a podcast. What do you want to join us? And she said, yeah, absolutely. That sounds like so much fun. I was like, we don't know what we're going to talk about, but it's going to be great. And then when you sent that text message, it became immediately clear. I ran downstairs. I said, Eric, this is the podcast we're supposed to do. Like, I'm sorry, I love you, but would you be upset if we changed what we were planning and just went this direction? And he's like, no, if that's what you want to do, let's do it. Because he's the greatest. And that was it. I mean, it was like, I knew as soon as you sent that text message, that's what this is supposed to be. This is where both of our spirit guides have been sending us in this direction.
Well, and neither of us have talked to each other about it.
No, we had never even had the conversation about anything like it. And all of a sudden you're like, I'm supposed to start a podcast. I'm like, I'm starting a podcast. This is great.
Sometimes they're very subtle and sometimes they're very loud.
Yeah. It was just perfect. It was just perfect.
And on my side, like I felt like for a while that Eric and Kayla and I were supposed to like do something together, but I couldn't figure out how we were going to connect. And then when you guys asked to do the podcast, I was like, okay, cool. I have no idea like what we're going to do. This doesn't completely resonate.
We didn't either.
Yeah. And then when Kayla called and was like, I hope you're okay, but my cousin wants to do a podcast with us. And I think this is the direction we're going to go in. I'm like, it makes sense now.
That fits. Yeah.
That is just crazy. I know. So part of telling the story is one, listening, right? Really learning to listen to, because this is not a comfortable medium for me. I mean, I'm getting more comfortable, but what I've learned over the years is I'm a very willing participant in what Spirit asks me to do. Yeah. Because life unfolds in very curious ways when I show up. So, and it's been really fun. So, yeah, thanks for the fun, ladies.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so true.
Yeah, it's really fun. So, how do you develop or strengthen your claircognizance? I don't know. I want to turn it over to you. How do you strengthen your claircognizance since that's your primary strength? What do you do?
I don't think I intentionally try to strengthen it. I just really trust. I mean, that I listen to everything that my gut tells me and I usually follow it. There's very few times where I will go against what my gut is telling me to do.
That is what
I can't think of one. Yeah. I can't think of a single time where I've ever been like, nope, don't be ridiculous. No, I listen to my gut. Like we were supposed to go to a wedding last year sometime. It was across the state. we were going to leave our kids with family and go together. It was going to be like a weekend getaway, and was packing up the kids. And I just knew we're not supposed to go. Like everything about this feels wrong. Like I had clear knowing that we are not supposed to be going across the state. And so I told him, crying about it, because I was like, I didn't want to disappoint him, and he's the greatest husband ever. And he's like, well, if that's what, if you don't feel like we should go, then we shouldn't go. So let's not do it. And so we stayed home instead. And I'm grateful every day for that. And I get downloads like that a lot. Like I was going to go grocery shopping one weekend. I was going to take one of the kids with me. It was raining. I got in the car. I made it to the end of the driveway, and then I just knew I wasn't supposed to go. So I went back and parked and took the kid out of the car and went back inside.
I'm curious because I think some of the people watching this might go, were you fearful? Did you get a message that you were fearful about? Because I think it's important to discern what you were getting. Were you getting just, I shouldn't go? Were you getting a specific message? Were you getting,
the time that we were supposed to go across the state, it was an ominous feeling. Like it was just an immediate gut feeling of, this is bad. Don't do it. That time for the grocery store, it wasn't like I probably could have rationalized myself into just going, but it was you don't need to go. Don't go. And I don't know. I mean, maybe something would have happened. Maybe nothing would have happened, but I didn't need to go. And my gut told me not to. So I just, changed my plans midway.
That's what I love about you, though, is like I feel like a lot of people say, oh, I should have trusted my gut. Like you always trust your gut.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't think of a time when I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of this, right? It will never, ever steer you wrong, ever. Because that information is coming not from you.
Right.
That's connected to your higher self. Right?
Yeah. Sometimes you feel like it's your angels protecting you or guiding you. But yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. What about you, Kim?
I get a lot of gut feelings. Sometimes I trust them and go follow it. And sometimes I say I should have trusted that. But yeah, I feel that. I think sometimes like driving too, when I'm like, maybe I don't need to do this, or when I told you guys about my DUI, when I pulled over and I was like, I shouldn't be driving, or I should
I don't need McDonald's right now.
Or I was tired. Also, I didn't get a DUI of everybody, by the way. But it was that moment of I need to save my life and pull over right now. And I feel like I get those feelings sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is, if the most important thing you can take away from this episode is the fact that listening to that still small voice within, it's there for a reason. Why, right? Like if we look at the biological reason, it's there to keep us safe, right? When we were fending off lions and tigers and bears, it's that fear instinct to keep us safe. But now it's there to also keep us safe, but keep us aligned with our truest nature. And when you see people kind of get off track and out of alignment, they're probably not following those messages, because the guidance will continue to recalibrate you and realign you every single time. It may not be easy. It may not be what you want. It may be the path that's hard. Like this whole thing with the podcast. It's not what I wanted to do, but I don't always get the choice, right? I'm being a good student and I'm listening. And really I'm showing up and I'm having a lot of fun. So that's kind of a different example. Yeah. But there's a notice. I just had a blank. The people in the chat. There's somebody in the chat talking about I think my gut protected me from getting electrocuted by my fuse box a year or two ago. Yeah, like maybe at the last minute turning off the power to the house, Like, oh, did I turn the power to the house off, right? Right. No, and I don't mean to make light of it. I just that's probably very true. My gut has a lot of food in it. Yep. Oh. Nature Levin says, I wish so much that I had listened to my gut or intuition when I was younger. It would have saved me from a lot of trauma. I do it more now. Yeah, that's a good point. I experienced a lot of weird things when I was a kid that I didn't have a lot of words for. And I think it's hard when you don't have somebody that helps you strengthen that as a kid. So, be kind to yourself. Be kind and know that you're working on it now. But it's when you don't have somebody to show you what that looks like, I think it's hard to continue, to know what to do or listen to your intuition. What does that even mean, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially when our society really is not designed to listen to our intuition. It's more about being busy and going and going and going and living in a concrete jungle and not getting out in nature and, moving away from our truest, authentic self. And I think it's hard for people to live according to their moral compass or their internal compass. So give yourself.
Kim, will you throw up Air and Two Spirits, the one you just flagged?
Air and Two Spirit, it's nice to see you back. Is the psychic abilities you get from being an empath adjacent to Clairsenses?
Didn't you say that there is a Clairsense that's a
Clair empath? Yes, we are going to talk a little bit about that. Clair empathy, yeah. Empathy. It's a lesser known Clair, but yes, we have a lot of empaths in this group. I know that, so we'll talk about that in a little bit. Good question. So, with the development of all of these gifts and strengthening your gifts, it is really, really important to develop a practice around making sure when you're connecting to these different gifts that you are very grounded. What does that mean? How do you ground? Do you guys know how to ground? What do you do? What do you do to ground? Yoga. Okay. Yeah. Getting your body connected to the earth, right?
But when I don't have time to do an hour-long yoga session, what would you recommend I do?
Take your shoes off and your socks off and go outside.
And step in the grass.
Not always the grass, just connect with the earth. And it can be for as little as 5 minutes. Yeah, a lot of people. I like being outside rather than inside with synthetic materials, right? I like to be where you can feel the earth. And for me, I can feel that connection. Like I can feel that earth energy. And then it just grounds all of my energy pretty quickly.
I guess, like walking on the beach, like when you're walking with
you. Definitely.
That's probably a really good one.
Oh, yeah. I can just imagine myself there right now. So here I am, clairvoyance, I'm daydreaming.
For me, it's more a state of mind. It feels
really?
more like a state of mind than a physical being. Being
Are you
grounded.
talking about grounding?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So just really I don't know, I can almost feel heavier when I ground myself. I almost feel like I'm just more stationary, if that makes any sense. And I can do that just by looking out the window for a hot minute, taking a minute to appreciate the things that I'm surrounded by.
Well, you are very grounded by nature.
I was gonna say that.
Yeah. So I think that is. Yeah, I think that maybe you kind of like exist in that world regularly. You're very grounded. So that's good. I'm glad you shared that. I actually have to go out and put my feet in the earth.
Yeah, for me, I think it's just calming my head, just calming my mind and Chilling.
Mm-hmm. Another thing is calling in a bubble of protection.
Yeah.
Protection of light or protection of, I like to protect my physical body, the space I'm in. So whether I'm in a home or an office, and then the land with which I, am on before I start, doing this. Now, again, a lot of this can be done if you're getting in a car, right? We were talking about those car activities you can do. You can do all of that before you get in a car, because being in a car or on an airplane or anything can be very, very ungrounding. I know an airplane, I'm just like, oh my goodness. I just feel like I back in January, I flew on an airplane and then I went right to the hospital. It's the two most ungrounding places ever. And then I was like on the 9th floor in the hospital. I was like, oh dear.
You're up
Too high up.
I was in the clouds, you guys. I was just like, whoa. So
I've tried to do that since you mentioned you put a dome over yourself. I've done that a few times since some of those conversations that we had a couple weeks ago, and I that feels good actually. That feels kind of like a good way of a barrier of protection more.
Yeah, I like to do that too. I also use this technique when I leave my home. So when I leave my home for a weekend or a week at a time, I will seal the property with this white and purple light. I kind of imagine it. Remember playing those games, Parachute, when you were a kid, where you so you throw the parachute up and then you tuck it down under, and it creates big,
cool.
And so I imagine that with white, and then you can imagine it with any color, but I really like to start with white and then purple, and that really, and then I kind of do it on the 4 pillars of the property when I'm leaving, and it really sets a very strong intention.
I'm gonna borrow that, like the
parachute.
Parachute.
See, you're visualizing what it's like. You're using a lot of clairvoyance when you're doing that, right?
That instantly connects with my inner child too.
Yes, I loved that thing. And then you go up underneath it.
Yeah. Nature Living or Levin said this about getting grounded, and I also really connect with playing with cats for a little bit, or like animals. I feel like animals.
Oh, that's a great, So Haas, that's what my daughter told me to do when I wasn't feeling well. I go barefoot most of the time and make sure to walk around outside, play with cats for at least 5 minutes. Yeah, that is one. The dog. I have 2 dogs. They instantly ground me. Yeah. Instantly. Yeah, their energy is so light and they're not weighed down by the heaviness that's often happening in my head, right? So without some of these tools and techniques, you can really open yourself up to some negative energy. And the challenge with that is not being able to discern when the information comes in, whether it's truly claircognizant, clairvoyance, clairaudience, or it's negative energy that you have taken in or taken on. And that's where it can get really tricky trying to develop these things, because then you get your anxiety can get very spun up. You can get very quickly into a tricky situation. When I started developing these gifts, I had struggled with anxiety nearly my entire life. So it was a balancing act with how do I not make this worse? And how do I make sure what I'm hearing is truthful and not going to feed this anxiety? And what I've learned is it will not feed your anxiety if it is coming from source. It is not going to feed your fear. It will be clear, it will be calm, and it will be all-knowing.
Robo Next just commented this. Do you think all this technology and their wireless signals can mess with us? Is that just conspiracy BS? I really resonate with this because I used to live in downtown LA and I felt so ungrounded. I could never calm down. My anxiety was so high and I was surrounded by all of the wireless signals.
Everything is energy, right? Yeah. Everything is energy. So wireless signals have this energy too. They put off these weird frequencies. Your body connects to these frequencies in weird ways. So yeah, it makes sense that it would that it would mess with you like crazy.
Yeah, and as soon as I left, I was like a whole different person. So, yes.
No, I do not think that's conspiracy BS at all.
Mhm.
That is, yeah, everything is energy. We should do a conspiracy theory podcast.
That's what this is, Karen.
I know. Well, but like chemtrails, look up chemtrails if you haven't looked up those before.
Oh yeah, maybe we should do more of those topics.
Mhm. But I have heard the same thing. I know somebody that lived in LA, and the interference, the technical interference that I've heard down there is just astounding to somebody who's very energy sensitive. She says she could never ground. She could never, even getting outside into nature was just almost impossible. Gosh, that would be really hard to live around.
Yeah.
It would be really hard. Okay, so next time your logical brain, which a lot of us live in our logical brain, is trying to figure something out, but your logical brain isn't going to give you the answer, ask your claircognizance to provide you the answer. Now, it doesn't always come in the same sentence, the same day, the same week, or the same month. You have to be patient. But it may show up, and it may show up in a different Clair. It may not be through your all-knowing. It may be through your ears, or you may see something. One of the ways, if you are getting information that's not yours, like negativity or scary thoughts, you can always say, return to sender. These are not my thoughts. Return to sender.
No, thank you.
Yeah. Good night. You got mail. No thanks.
Pop it back in the mailbox.
Yeah. Pocket. Yep. Exactly. Another way to strengthen this Clair is automatic writing. I do automatic writing quite a bit. That's really fascinating to see what shows up on the page when you've got a clear channel of claircognizance going. Kayla, that might be something you want to try.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I've never even considered that before.
Yeah.
Just writing whatever is coming to mind.
If you get a sliver of something coming through, like just an eye knowing, open up a journal and just allow. I like to use like a gel pen, so there's no flow that stops anything. Like, oh shoot, my pen doesn't work, and then then you get out of flow really fast. But you just start writing, and you'll get to the end, you'll be like, I did not write that. Like that is not, that came through me. That's not me.
Yeah, that is cool to like read back some of your stuff sometimes.
It
like,
is.
Where did this come from?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. But what I found is that there's sometimes it goes deeper than what comes through in the knowing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll often get more information than I ever would have doing some automatic writing. So some crystals to use: clear quartz, amethyst, danbarite, herkimer diamond, and sugilite.
Sugilite.
Yeah, I have it on right now. I really
Oh,
love
really?
it. Yeah.
Oh, pretty.
Is it a purple color or is it blue?
Purple.
Yeah. I think I always call it sugarlight because it looks like SUGA, right?
Actually, it might be. I really don't know. You're
kind of
probably
looks
right.
like the beginning of sugar, so I always just go sugarlight. Sugarlight.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I don't know that we're going to be able to get to all of the Clairsenses tonight. So which other one do you want to like go into?
I think we should talk about the empath one because somebody mentioned that, remember? Or is it not?
I want to talk about, yes, I want to talk about Clairsentience for sure.
Pick your favorite.
Clairsentience is...
You don't think we're going to be able to get to these?
I mean, I guess we could.
How many more do we have left?
6.
4, 5, 6, 6. But some of them are
Quick.
Yes.
Not going to resonate with many people.
Well, they might. I'm really curious what some of our listeners will know about some of these. Okay, let's talk about Clairsentience. That was my clear cue from Kayla to get moving. Okay. Okay. This is your clear physical feeling. This is the most common Clair. So this is you being able to read the emotions of others. Sensing the energy in a room. Oh boy, how many times do you walk into a room and you're like, oh, I do not want to be here today? Or, who came in with a bad attitude? You physically feel in your body what other people are experiencing. So somebody's having a stomach ache, you may feel that stomach ache. How many of that has happened to me quite often? Somebody will go, I have a migraine. I'm like, oh, why does my head hurt? I don't get headaches, you guys. Like, why do I have a headache now? Right.
So is it a physical feeling or is it an emotional feeling?
Physical.
Okay.
Physical. But remember, everything starts as energy that moves in motion to emotions and then manifests as the physical feeling. So the physical feelings you're having really are maybe the emotions of somebody near you.
So like a medium who says that they feel, I feel lots of pressure on my chest. Somebody coming through had lots of pressure on their chest, right? That an example of clairsentience?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. You have a hard time being in big crowds. Ooh, that's a big one for me. I just take on everything in a crowd, everything, the fight they had with their spouse, the toothache that they're having, the kids crying. Like, I'm just like, oh my God, it's so overwhelming. Like, I'll go to a conference and I'm like, I got to go hide out. There's just so much energy. You're super sensitive to your environment. One of the other things is emotional movies or commercials or anything really make you very sad. If you want to cry. Sometimes people may think you're a little too sensitive, but you physically feel people's pain. Here's another big one. This is big for me too. Your mood changes quickly and often unexpectedly. And it's only been in the last couple of years that I've been able to identify that maybe this is not mine. Maybe this energy is not mine. So being able to have an awareness that, like, what did I pick up? What did I pick up? Right. Making sure that I'm grounding really good before I go into these big group situations, but something's not mine. You find it difficult to watch the news. You can tell instantly when somebody's having a bad day without them even saying anything. And then you notice temperature variations in a room. Walking in, you can feel cold spots and hot spots. So how do you develop this sense? If you get a strong feeling about somebody, write it down. Write it down in a journal, put it away, and then see what may happen or manifest within the coming weeks or months. If a family member or a friend comes to mind, reach out to that person. There's probably a reason, right? We're all on a frequency vibration, and you're tapping into some frequency that they're on, right? It doesn't mean that it's bad. It doesn't mean that they're dying. It just means that maybe you need to reach out to them. Maybe they needed to hear from you today, right? So based on how you were raised, and if you were raised in a home that was taught to honor the truth and you weren't lied to, this can be a clair that's easier to develop or not as easy to develop. So depending on how easy it is for you to trust. Mm-hmm. So crystals for clairsentience: white topaz, blue tourmaline, clear quartz, amethyst, and danbarite. Some of these cross over. Okay, let's talk about clair empathy, since that seems to be a big one.
I feel like that would be kind of similar to the last one, right? Clairsentience?
Clairsentience, similar to claircognizance. Yes. They do kind of
clair empathy too, though, right? Like,
that's what I mean. Yeah, clair empathy is similar to clair.
Oh, clear emotion. Yeah. So clear feeling and clear emotion. So sensing other people's emotions, thoughts, or symptoms. Gosh, tell me a story. Tell me when this has happened to you, because I bet everybody has a story about this.
You go first.
I can't think of a single thing.
So for me, I feel like people put out feelers, like energetic feelers, when they're like, when I'm sensing something like that's happening with them, whether they're having thoughts about certain things. And sometimes I'm just like, it's too much for me to know. I just don't need to know all of this information. So I feel like there's like little feelers out there. So sometimes I can sense things and then I'll see them and it's like, oh, do they know that I know that? Do they know that I know that I can feel that and see that? Like it's just, but I think that's part of being empathic, right? Is you do often feel the weight of people's emotions and what they're going through.
So sensing it before they tell you, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Before, well, because think about it. If they're telling you, then they're just confirming what you've already
Right.
sensed, right?
I feel like this one doesn't resonate a ton with me, and I almost think it's because you like if I see somebody, usually what they're feeling is written on their face if they don't
Or
hide
their
it well.
energy, like in their body, yeah.
So is it more of just like a reading the room sort of situation, or are you sensing people's feelings before, or their feelings? Emotions. Are you sensing their emotions before you're even in a space with them?
Yeah. So if you are meeting somebody for the first time, you can sense, maybe what happened in their day or how they're feeling about something. Or now I think seeing them and seeing what's on their face is a whole nother thing.
Okay.
I'm talking about reading this before you even, like when I have read people before, like psychically done psychic readings for people, all of this comes through before I even meet them.
Yeah, I don't know that that's ever happened to me before.
And things will come through that they don't even have an awareness of, right?
Yeah.
Thoughts that are there that they haven't thought, or symptoms that they may be experiencing that they don't know how to put words to. So being very, very connected empathically to somebody. And I think that's why going into a room, like a big room or a conference room, is very overwhelming for me, because I don't think a lot of people have a real good grasp on their own emotional state. And then they spread themselves out in some of these big rooms, way bigger than where their physical body is. Like their aura is like way, way bigger than it needs to be. And it's like, it can be very infringing.
I feel like,
Especially
I think there's so many similarities between claircognizance, clairsentience, and clair empathy. I feel like those are so similar. They're almost bundled together in maybe in my brain, or maybe my senses kind of just lump them together as a gut feeling.
They could be. Yeah. And that's okay too. I mean, claircognizance, to me, it's where I get the how I get the information.
Mm-hmm.
So claircognizance comes through my crown, whereas clairsentience comes through my gut.
Okay.
So the information comes in differently for me. Clair empathy is not that is more like the strengthening of your empathic abilities, but it's just not one I'm super familiar with. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird one.
Yeah. So I think this is an interesting thing about clair empathy that's helpful for those that are empaths. A simple grounding meditation called 5 senses. So as you're learning to ground yourself, not taking on all of the things of people around you, notice these things: 5 things you see, 4 things you feel, 3 things you hear, 2 things you smell, 1 thing you taste.
That's a good one.
It really brings you just back into your own body, dealing with your own emotions and physical feelings and sensations. Not taking everybody else's stuff.
Berly, will you throw Wen's comment up there? I'd like to know if people with strong claircognizance have open crowns per human design.
Oh, that's a good question. I have not studied human design. I know a little bit about it, but I don't know enough about it to even speak about it. But that's a great question. We might have to do a human design. Maybe bring somebody on.
That would be cool. Yeah.
Does Wen know? Could we bring Wen on?
When do you know? There's a lot of people really interested in human design. It's fascinating. Just not something I know. All right, let's talk about, Aaron Two Spirit. What does it mean to touch objects and immediately get a surge of energy you pick up on, especially in your crown area? It feels vibrational in the crown area. Okay, we'll go to that one next. Mrs. Movies thinks we're going to run out of time. So,
no, just
Clairtangency. So if you guys have never seen the medium Tyler Henry he has a show on
E. No.
Is it E? I think it's Netflix.
Maybe.
Now.
Could be.
Anyways, his method is to take an object of the deceased and then gather all of his psychic information through the object. So this is also called, what is it also called? Psychometry.
Oh,
So
yeah. Somebody mentioned that earlier.
Psychometry, where you touch the object and then you gain all of the information. So the thing with clairtangency or psychometry is the person had to have worn it, right? There has to be an association with the object. And there's definitely ways you can develop that. I'm curious if anybody here listening has developed that Clair ability. This is something I have done a couple of times. It's
Really?
It's tricky. It's tricky.
Isn't this
it's not
ability? Sorry, go ahead.
It's just not my favorite way to get information, but yeah.
Kayla, what's that scary movie that it's the couple, they touch objects?
Yeah, the Conjuring.
The Conjuring. Isn't this her ability in that?
Yeah, yep. I always No, what is Eric, what's the name of the lady? The couple? Our viewers will know. It's that ghost hunting couple. Gosh. Ed and Lorraine.
Oh, Ed and Lorraine
Something.
Yeah, from
Yes, from that.
Amityville Horror.
Amityville, yes, yeah. Amityville.
Yeah, I knew. Oh my gosh, you guys, I knew.
Nicely done.
I have never seen it, and I won't watch it, so don't ask. But
so Lorraine, she touches an object and gets her Claire downloads that way. Warren, Ed and Lorraine Warren. Thank you, Rainbow Road.
So I think it's funny. I have to say, Jackal says, running out of time is just her gut feeling. Yeah, touche. Well played.
It's strong one. It's a strong one.
Okay, so if you have a strong clairtangency or psychometry, you have an overwhelming desire to thoroughly wash your hands after handling objects, especially rocks or crystals. Who does that sound like, Kayla?
Yeah, I do have a tendency to do that too every once in a while.
You can't buy or wear secondhand clothing or jewelry. Even being in a thrift store makes you feel overwhelmed. You prefer sustainably made clothing and brands. You feel uncomfortable in cluttered spaces. Sometimes when you purchase or are gifted items, you feel an unexplainable need to pass it on or get rid of it. You may be overwhelmed by an emotion such as sadness or joy when holding photographs of others. You've experienced images or sounds when touching an old object or being in an old place. You're unable to use or purchase secondhand furniture. You may experience an unexplainable but overwhelming feeling when in a used furniture store or sitting on a family heirloom couch. So this is why I have nearly all of those. Yeah. But the last one about secondhand furniture. So at my mom's house, she has a dresser with a mirror on it. and it came secondhand. There is some weird stuff attached to that dresser, but I always have to drape the mirror in a blanket when I stay there because
weird things come out of it or what?
Yeah, it is some weird stuff happen at night. I don't like mirrors in my bedroom to begin with, but there's some really strange stuff that comes out of that, and it came secondhand. I can't buy secondhand furniture.
You described all of this as negative. Is there any situation where you
did you feel like they were negative?
Well, you can't connect with it because it's too intense, or too
Oh,
intense.
I can't go to I don't like going to thrift stores and touching clothes and things like that. I won't wear thrift store clothes. Don't like it.
But what if it's opposite? Where you do?
Yeah, maybe you love thrift store clothes.
I do.
Do you? Yeah, okay.
I love old things because I connect almost to the memories of it. I feel like,
well, so this might be a really strong Claire for you.
But in a positive way?
No. I think that's what it means. I think it's the ones I was reading are the people that it's not necessarily that they can't connect with it, but yeah, I guess I see what you're saying.
Okay, so a positive example. We've got this couch in the basement that is from they moved it into the basement when they built the house. So it cannot be removed. But I sit in it and it just makes you feel at home, right? It was my dad's couch. It just feels at home. So maybe, that's a positive experience with a tangible object that is secondhand. It's not
yeah.
That's a good point.
Or it's not overwhelming. It's a calming feeling almost.
Well, I think where Karen's coming from is that if the object is holding energy from somebody else, right? If you're feeling the energies of somebody else, it's not likely that those energies are going to make you feel good unless you know those people or you have a connection to those people. You're not going to, it'd be weird for you to probably have a really warm and fuzzy feeling with the secondhand shirt that you got at Goodwill because you don't know who was wearing it, right? I don't know. Or maybe everybody, maybe that person really loved their shirt, so they just left behind good energy. I don't know. It's a weird one for sure.
That is a weird one.
Yeah.
But you think you have clairtangency a lot, right, Karen? Is that a strong one for you? You do want to wash your hands after touching stones and stuff, right?
Well, yeah, definitely. I think I do, but I don't probably use it in a way that's helpful for me. I use it in a way to repel things. I don't want to buy the furniture. I don't want to buy used clothes. I don't want to, because I can feel all of those things and I don't like that. Right. I do like to use it when it is to read for somebody. I think it's fascinating.
Berly, maybe you like thrift store clothes because you don't have clairtangency. So you don't pick up on any weird energies.
But I feel like I pick up on the positive energies is what I'm saying. I do connect with the old things in a loving way almost of it was loved on.
Somebody loved this so much they gave it away.
Well, maybe they passed on or something. I don't know.
So Aaron Two Spirit says, I think if you have clairtangency, then you probably feel all energies, good and bad, and both can be overwhelming. Yeah, I think that's what.
Thanks for bringing us back to the center, Aaron. Appreciate that.
Okay, let's talk about, these are the really, really interesting ones. Let's talk about clairgustance. It sounds so clairgustance. I don't know, it just sounds so famous, but
Beauty and the Beast. I don't know.
Yes, that's kind of what it sounds like. Yeah. Clear tasting, sensing things through taste without having the physical thing in your mouth. Tasting the favorite food of a deceased loved ones, but it doesn't always have to be food. This is the weird thing. You could taste a tree or the taste, how you attribute a certain place you visited to, or a dirty sock, or all of these strange things. I'm curious, does anybody have this, Claire? Have you guys experienced this?
So when we talked about this earlier, a few weeks back, just on side conversation, because I was telling you guys that just recently, I've developed a love of black licorice, which I hate black licorice, but my dad loved black licorice. And so, like, I don't know if, and you thought maybe that this was some Clairgustance coming through, but I don't taste it when I'm not eating it. I just now like the flavor of it when I never did before.
Well, one of the things is tasting the favorite food of a deceased loved one. Like, but you either love or you hate black licorice. That is not
but I'm not tasting it when I'm not eating something. I am eating something black licorice. I don't taste black licorice just willy-nilly.
But you've developed a like for it that you didn't have before, right?
Almost a love for it. I kind of like, I will lean towards the Good and Plenty in the store now rather than the M&Ms. Like, I would rather have a Good and Plenty than an M&M. It's just bizarre.
Wow. Is it like, can they pass it on to us when they?
I don't know if it's that or if it's to remind us that they're around.
I now just carry Good and Plenties in my car.
That's crazy.
I have them to snack on in my car. He always had them in his pickup. That was his thing. He always had loose leaf Good and Plenties with his change.
Okay.
I don't know that it was intentional, but if you tried to clean out his change out of his center console, it always had Good and Plenties in it.
Really?
Yeah.
So a way that you can develop this is when you're calm and relaxed, imagine different flavors. Think about a strong and powerful taste that you love and visualize it. You'll probably feel a sensation in your mouth and concentrate on the link between your mind and body. Another exercise to do is when you're meditating to ask your spirits for help. Your spirit team and deceased loved ones are always there with you. You just need to ask them. Ask them to bring forward a taste that they loved or a taste that was important to them. If you can, think about foods that taste that remind you of them. That is one that I do not experience.
Yeah, really? That's a weird one.
Yeah, I do not. Do you, Berly?
I mean, I think maybe I'll pay attention to it now, but
yeah, that's
not that I know of.
Okay, so the other one is Clairsalience. This is a hard one to say. Clear smelling. Insights come through the perception of smell. I'm sure many of you have experienced this. So smelling your deceased grandmother's smelly rose perfume or your dad's aftershave when no one is around. Has that happened to either of you?
That very specific one, my grandmother's smelly rose perfume. Just
what about your dad's
random? Not my dad's, but my grandpa's. Yeah, my grandpa's aftershave.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I smelt it, and I took my mom to the one of her appointments after her whole. What is it called?
Issue.
Appendix. Yep. Her whole appendix thing. And I was driving her car, so it wouldn't have been in her car for any reason. But we parked right in front of the hospital, and as soon as we parked, I was like, "Oh." I got a whiff of Grandpa's aftershave. It was so bizarre.
See, I think this is a really strong Claire for you. Really strong. So the odors can be perceived and not actually carry the physical sensation. So I smell a lot of tobacco pipe smell. Like which isn't a bad smell, but nobody used to smoke tobacco pipes around me that I remember. All right, but I smell like not great smells. Diesel oil, dog poop. Nothing like no fresh peonies or like nothing. Tobacco pipe's okay, but I'm kind of like, it just smells kind of old, old after a while. I do get this a lot when I'm shopping for whatever reason. And no, it's not somebody with perfume from the next aisle over. There's nobody around. And I'm just like, whoa. And I just think it's probably lingering spirits,
I smelt my grandparents' house the other day. It was so weird.
Ooh.
I can't remember
really?
where I was now. I can't remember where I was. But you know how homes have a certain smell when you walk into them?
Yes.
I smelt their house and I was just like
Came
overcome with
back.
joy. It was just like, oh my
Oh,
gosh, like that is such a unique smell. I haven't smelt it since
Oh.
grandpa died. Like it was such a warm and cozy memory.
oh, that's neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely have a very strong sense of smell. So signs that you have this clairaudience, highly developed sense of smell. So I also have a very highly developed sense of smell. My family calls me the bloodhound. I can smell anything, anytime, anywhere, and I always smell it before anybody else does. But I don't always connect it that there's spirits around, right? Like I don't always get the download that there's, but I do really smell everything. Smelling the signature scent of a departed one, sudden smell that no one else perceives. I get that a lot. Like, why is nobody smelling this?
Yeah, that my grandma's rose perfume. Nobody smelt that, just
Nobody
me.
smells that. Yeah.
Happens every once in a while.
Sudden fits of sneezing. Does that happen to you guys? That's
Are
what
you
I
like keep sneezing?
Yeah. Yeah. Smelling something that isn't present physically and experiencing a smell you can't identify. So I have to tell you this interesting story. When I had COVID for the first time, I lost my smell and I lost it for 2 weeks, which was kind of a weird thing, you know? And I was like, oh yeah, it'll come back. Well, it did come back, but then I had this, they call it, what do they call it?
Phantom smells.
Yeah,
Yeah.
phantasmia. And you guys, I thought that it was like, I thought I had a bunch of spirits running around next to me. I'm like, I was smelling, and it was like probably 200% more than what my normal smell is. So it was like really high, like really heightened smell of onions or really heightened smell of like, I'm like, are you cooking onions? Nope, nobody's cooking onions. But nothing. There was nothing there. It was all phantom smells. And I was like, oh, this is going to drive me. I cannot do no. That only lasted for about 2 weeks. I'm very thankful. But those
that's a long time though. 2 weeks. Oof.
because I'd sit at a stoplight. I'm like, oh my gosh, what cooking hamburgers? Is there a burger joint around? Like what's going on? Enough to make it crazy. Yeah, the smells were in my head or whatever, wherever they were. I don't know where they were, but that's all back to normal. Thank goodness. Yeah, so that's an interesting one. Okay, I think we have one more.
I feel like, wait, just to touch on the
Yeah.
smell thing, I feel like smells really affect my mood. Is that like a thing?
Do they? Yeah. Like
Oh.
specific smells from the past.
I mean, like smells can trigger things from the past. Yeah, if I smell something, it'll like take me to a memory. But like I have to have a certain smell around me, like candles or perfumes or something, to like put me in a certain mood, like a creative mood, or like when I'm editing videos, I have to have a candle sitting next to me to like. I don't know. Is that kind of
No, that I think smells always trigger like specific, points in my memory, good, bad, or no, I think that's really interesting.
Maybe smells open up different parts of your brain waves, right? Like
creative. Mhm.
yeah. Interesting.
So a couple of ways to strengthen your clairaudience: meditate on smells you are already familiar with. Avoid smoking or other activities that dull your sense of smell. Try to imagine familiar smells without the smell in the room. Have you guys ever tried to do that? Like, it smells like snickerdoodles. Oh yeah, it smelled like I did it really well when I had that phantom thing. Everything, I could smell everything that wasn't there. It really makes you go crazy though, I tell you what. So the last one was clear intellect, clear thinking. So this is where your thoughts can manifest as intuition. So I would say that this is probably a pretty highly refined Claire gift, right? Because our thoughts 99% of the time are not our intuition.
Right. Yeah. It's like the exact
So
opposite. Yeah,
it is
for me.
Yeah. It's not the scary thoughts that are coming through telling you to, quit your job tomorrow. Well, maybe, but probably not. So it's usually like when you're having a conversation with somebody and the words come through and it's just like it's coming through you and it's not of you. There's just like this stream of consciousness that's happening. A lot of things can feel like an epiphany. Like, wow, that's not of me, but that's through me. Left brain linear thinkers may be inclined to a Clair intellect. This Clair shows up for me when I'm channeling. It's just like a steady stream of information. But again, like you said, they can cross, right?
Yeah.
So the interesting thing about these Clairs is you may have like you may have one that's like your primary one or two that are your primary one, but you're more than often going to use 2 or 3 or maybe even 4. And you can use them simultaneously. It's not like, oh, today I'm only going to use my clairvoyance. Well, probably not. You're probably going to use a few of them, right? Especially when you're looking for answers to things.
Can you really tell the difference between Clair thinking and Clair hearing? Because I feel like those two could be really similar.
Well, an audible sound is different than a thought, right?
Okay. So you can tell the difference in like
if you're listening to music, you hear music, right? You're not thinking about the music, you hear the music.
Yeah, but earlier you were saying it was like a thought, or I guess.
Yeah, a thought that manifests as your intuition, which again, probably not a primary. This is probably not a primary Clair for a lot of people because you'd have to. There's a really finite level of discernment, making sure that those thoughts really your intuition, but it comes through like a stream of consciousness. Whereas your clairaudience, you're hearing audible
Sound.
Audible sounds, audible voices.
Okay.
Like a voice telling you to do something, right?
Yeah. Nature 11 says, I have a very strong sense of smell. First to smell smoke and ask coworkers if something was burning. I can taste food through smell, sensitive to strong fragrances. Yeah. That probably means you have a very strong clairaudience. Did I say that right? Clairaudience. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yes, the wrong people.
And Galaxian says, yeah, smell is a big part of taste. Well, think about it. When you're sick and you lose.
I hate that. I hate that more than anything. Right?
I can't taste when I'm eating. I'm hungry for chicken noodle soup. Well, I can't taste chicken noodle soup. Yeah. Yep. That's why when you have a cold and you can't breathe through your nose, you can't really taste anything.
Yeah. Most of taste is smell. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Fascinating.
I think all of these are so fascinating. I think some of them obviously are easier to probably combine because if you're having a strong feeling about something, you're probably also having a clear knowing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes. And I think it's important to develop and rely on multiple clairs as you move forward, trusting your intuition more rather than just, oh, this is my primary Clair. I'm only gonna, I can tap into all of these. There's 4 of them that are, really strong for me. But I like being able to, when I'm getting really worked up about something that I know is not my intuition, I know it's anxiety, but there's a lot of factors in my environment that are telling me all the, they're feeding me this information that's spinning up my anxiety. Mm-hmm. I'm really relying on these other clairs to tell me where the truth is, tapping into that feeling. that frequency.
They're almost like little security blankets,
They
kind
are.
of.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like that. Yeah.
And gifts. I mean, these are such gifts if you think about it, right?
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
to
when
think we all probably have access to them. We just got to
do.
pay attention. Yeah. Just got to pay attention.
do. Yes. I mean, think about when you're struggling and you're, you really need an answer to something, or, in some of my darkest moments of my life, these clairs have been some of the biggest gifts. And really when life swings, as it always does, right? It swings back to where things are kind of on the up and up. They still are gifts. They still are gifts. And there's still things I tap into every single day. So I hope this was helpful.
I loved this. This was awesome.
Yeah, this is fun. This is really fun.
Yeah. I would love to do some more of these Claire specific and just
we could do a whole episode on just claircognizance and talk about the different, tones that go with, the different yoga postures that, we could just really dive into it. It would be fun. But I'm curious, ladies, based on what you learned tonight, what do you think is your primary clair?
Ooh. I really resonated with the first one, Clair seeing.
Clairvoyance. Yep. Clair seeing.
And then there was another one. Shoot, what was it?
Clair hearing,
Clair knowing, Clair feeling.
I think it was the feeling one. The sentience, yeah. Clairsentience.
Clairsentience. Mm-hmm. So you see things and you feel things.
Yep.
What about you?
Well, I think it's claircognizance, but I don't know, because the Clairsentience is how I would describe it. Like the gut feeling is how I would describe it, but it's a gut feeling of knowing. Like I just know that. So I don't know. I can't decide. I think mine are mushed. I think they're mushed together.
Well, that's okay too.
Yeah, I feel
the lines kind of blur with those two. I would agree with you. Clairsentience is the clear physical feeling, but claircognizance is the clear knowing. For me, the difference is where the message comes in. Clear knowing always comes through my crown. Clairsentience always comes through the seat of the soul, my gut. So it's just like how you receive the messages, but it's still taking in. So I'm curious, those of you that are listening, what is your primary sense? Drop it in the chat.
Well, Baghead says gut feelings come from evolution. You could be absolutely right. I mean, it could be evolutionary traits, but do you think they're evolutionary traits because they're clairsenses that we've been given, right? I mean, have we evolved?
I'm laughing at another comment. I apologize. Yes, I was listening to. Yes.
I mean, yes, we've evolved them, but
yeah. But I do believe, that if we look at the basics of biology and we look at the basics of, what happened as humans, we were designed to be able to feel that fear feeling in our body, to be able to run and get away from danger, right? We still have that innately within us, and we can utilize it. We don't need to run from lions and tigers and bears anymore, right? But we can still use it to our benefit now in other ways.
Yeah, I think it is both. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is this the comment you were laughing at?
Yeah. If everyone would increase their Clair abilities, would they then be able to understand flat Earth, or are they doomed to ignorance?
I've been actually deep diving into flat Earth because of a side conversation that I had with somebody earlier this weekend, and honestly, my gut instinct tells me it's not a thing. But some of the points are very intriguing. I mean, very thought-provoking and intriguing. Arguments.
This is part of the conspiracy. We need to have a whole episode on conspiracy, right?
No, we're gonna have a whole episode on flat Earth. It's gonna be great.
Okay, flat Earth. Okay, so Wen says, I wonder if the gut feeling comes from the bacteria living there, which are separate from us.
Interesting.
Are you talking about the gut feeling or the bacteria within our gut? Well, this is really fascinating because that's what informs what's happening in our brain. The gut brain connection is really huge.
I don't know. I mean, I don't, because my gut feeling is very good, but I have IBS, which is not helpful. So like, I just don't think they're connected.
I think it's outside of it. I love the things.
I like the idea though.
Yeah, you guys throw up some of the most interesting ideas. It's just okay.
Too
All
much.
right.
Sorry.
That's good. That's good. All right, let's move to the grounded guidance. Unless you guys had something else you wanted to discuss before we.
I just loved Wen's last comment about flat Earth. I don't know about Earth being flat, but I do think it may be hollow with people living there. More conspiracy. I love it. Okay, the grounded guidance. I'm ready.
Grounded guidance for today. Be foolhardy and listen carefully to what is right in front of you. Give a little, get a little. Over time, you strengthen acceptance for what is coming, and what will be. Distinguish between fully living and just existing. Listen closely to the pulse of life. Allow your ideas to incubate. Like a sharp-shinned hawk, observe, focus, gain clarity, perspective, and perception. With a keen eye, swoop, and don't hold anything back. Be bold, courageous, and fearless. And I wanted to tell you guys this because maybe there's somebody listening to this. When I was channeling this, I felt like my teeth were going to fall out. So I think I was channeling somebody that had really bad tooth pain today because I thought this was important to bring up because I think I was, what Claire is that? Claire
Empathy?
Yeah, Claire empathy. Right. And then as soon as I was done, it all went away. But literally every tooth in my mouth hurt. I thought like they all felt like they had cavities.
Wow.
So somebody was going through some sort of tooth pain today.
Yeah, I felt like that grounded guidance was really relevant to the Clairs.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was. So, well, ladies, that was a fun one.
This was a blast. Yeah, I loved it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, everybody. Thanks for the funny engagement. I enjoyed it. All right, we'll see you next week. We're talking about Bigfoot next week.
Oh yeah.
Same time. Same. Yes, we will miss you.
Yeah, we'll see you in a few weeks.
Yeah, in a few weeks.
All right. Bye, you guys.
Bye.